Welcome to the Derek Loudermilk Show. This is episode 387 with Kit Volcano. My friend Kit Volcano is back on the show today, and we're going to talk about miracles. Kit and his wife, business partner Rosie, discovered a way of hacking roller coasters to produce miracles. It's a really incredible story. And basically, they have used miracles in their life for the last 7 years, basically going from not being able to keep the lights on in their yoga studio to now they have a multi-million-dollar coaching business driven pretty much entirely by miracles, joy, enthusiasm, adventure, and dance parties. So this episode is full of stories of different ways that they've figured out how to produce miracles, basically how to tap into that 0 point creative field. So miraculous group healings, timeline hopping, Mandela effects. There's this interesting story about how they manifested the release of Brittany Griner from a Russian prison and how you can implant memories in your past to change your future. Really cool and interesting things here. Right up my alley, applied metaphysics to help you get exactly what you want in your life. So without further ado, here is Kit Volcano. Kit Volcano,
Hi,
welcome back.
thank you.
It's been a while.
Thanks for having me. I know it's been a while. Our lives have probably changed massively since the last time we talked.
You guys have a kid now?
We have a kid. You have a kid. You had a kid.
We talked 6 years ago on the show.
Wow.
Was it?
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. So I have a 6-year-old.
Wow.
So maybe I was just fresh. Yeah, but you guys have an interesting setup. You guys have like 4 parents, is that right?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have when I calculate the relationships, like we have now 4 people in our family. So like
Oh,
I have
wow.
individual relationships with my son, my daughter, my wife, and then like the group of 3 of us, and then the other group of 3 of us, and then so there's like 12 permutations within that. So it goes up exponentially, like the number of relationships you're managing with
Oh,
each
yeah.
new person.
Yeah. It's a journey, isn't it?
Yeah. How are you finding parenthood?
Well, parenting our child, me and my wife, is wonderful. Yeah. Rosie and I enjoy parenting together. It's also nice to have some time off, because we only have them half time, and that's really great as well, is to be able to have the identity of a parent and then also not when you don't have him.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. It's funny, like people that I collaborate with that share custody of their kids, they're like in these like productive bursts for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And then they're like, sorry, I can't respond to your messages right now. I'm on parenting duty.
And I think some parents who just have their kid full time, they learn how to be productive while having the kid there.
Yeah, I'm lucky. My wife is basically a uh, full-time mom, homemaker, cook. So we
Wow.
we sort of split it that way.
That's
But
cool.
we have a snow day right now, so my kids are actually like, you may even hear them playing in this episode.
That's
They're just
fun.
right across the way. So we're going to talk about the miracle roller coaster.
Hmm. We are going to talk about the Miracle Roller Coaster. And not just the Miracle Roller Coaster, but all the different miracles and the different ways to create miracles and the different ways to shift your energy to allow miraculous energy in your life in big ways and little ways.
So let me tell you, I have this framework of levers of abundance and
Yeah,
like
let's hear
different.
it.
So this kind of like fits in, but one of the levers is luck or synchronicities or optimizing, taking advantage of synchronicities.
Yes.
Because if you're like trying to do something, like say trying to buy a house or whatever it is, um, you could just throw money at the problem, which is kind of how a lot of people approach it. There's like, oh, there's a traditional route for buying a thing, but there's a lot of different ways you could get a house. You could win a house in some sort of contest. You could stumble across somebody who like is moving abroad and needs someone to take their house from the, there's like infinite ways for something to happen. And so
Mm.
being aware of the different levers of abundance. And so what it sounds like is when I hear miracles, there's just like totally unexpected ways for getting the thing that you're seeking.
Well, and I also think it's about increasing the synchronicities in your life and increasing that kind of magic in your life to where it's not just throwing money at a problem or throwing logic at a problem. Or what are some of your other levers? You've got throw money at a problem.
Yeah, there's information. There's like
Oh,
how you can get,
research, research, research. Yes.
or even creative insight, like creative problem solving. Um,
Great.
there's gosh, now I should know all these. But the master lever is your network, your people that sort of facilitate opportunities. Um,
Mm.
there's well, there's just like also the understanding of the reciprocity of the universe. So like how you give and receive, how you balance the flow with all
Mm.
things. Because some people are really good at being givers, like they're maybe over givers, and some people are great at receiving, but they're not as good at giving. And so if there's some part of that reciprocity balance that's off, the flow itself is going to be impeded.
Absolutely. That lever is turned off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the lever that I love the most and that my wife and I teach the most is the lever of leveraging source energy, universal energy, quantum energy, miraculous energy. And to me, all the levers, all the other levers are about working hard. And this lever is about leveraging something that can do so much more for you than your hard work.
This is great. I mean, everybody wants to, and it's so funny because like people don't want to work hard necessarily. They want it to be miraculous. And yet it's hard to not work hard. Like I find myself feeling quite comfortable when I'm, in productive mode, so to speak. Because
Yeah.
it's because
Feeling safe.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing an output. I'm putting energy into this. I'm doing everything that I can so that it can turn out. But I think a lot of people can relate to working hard, 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 and still having no results.
Yeah. And there's, that common saying that's like, if hard work could get you to wealth, then, your waiters and your waitresses would be wealthy, but they're like, they work super hard, right? But they're limited, in their income is usually capped at some level.
1,000%, 1,000%. But then you bring in the synchronicities of those waiters that are tapped in, tuned in, turned on, and connected to their higher selves, and they're being guided to synchronicities, to opportunities, to different paths. And then also, what did you say? Like leveraging those synchronicities, not just seeing them and being excited on them, but when you get that guidance, having the courage to follow that guidance.
Yeah. So where should we start like unpacking this?
All right, let's start with where all the miracle energy started. Where we started with Miracle Coaster and how far it's gone, and then we'll go into, kind of where we started, which is how to put it into your daily life. So Rosie and I, she's my wife. We've been together for 10 years. We've been married for almost 10 years in March.
Wow,
And
congrats.
yeah, and we'll have been together almost 11 years. So we got married pretty quick after we started dating, which was really fun. So we've been entrepreneurs since we've been together. And I used to own a hair salon. Forgive the hair, I just cut it in the bathroom. It's not up to shape. Uh, so I used to own a hair salon. I've never really had full-time employment from anybody else. I've always just been like, you got this. Like, you don't need to follow the path of the 9 to 5, the path of anybody else. You can create your own life. You can create your own way. And so, I've been a DJ, I've owned a hair salon. And when Rosie and I first started dating, I owned a hair salon. And that hair salon came to me and the money came to me in magical synchronistic ways that are beyond, the levers of hard work, the levers of like human form, changing human form. But after a while of owning the hair salon, I decided that I wanted to find a more magical path. I wanted to align with more healing work, with more magical work, with more transformative work. And so I went on my own healing journey, did some ayahuasca, as everyone does who goes on a healing journey. Found yoga, found meditation, right around the time when I was dating Rosie. And I took her to her first yoga class in the style that we taught. And she and I immediately knew that this is the path that we wanted to be on, and this is the path we wanted to be on together, that we wanted to teach people how to heal themselves and help people transform their hearts, their minds, their energy, their bodies, and make our lives about being connected to that energy. So we moved to Asheville, North Carolina, opened a yoga studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did. And that was like 2015. Sold my hair salon. And we went from thriving in one city to having a failed yoga studio in another city. And it was a really big wake up call. And there was one moment where we couldn't keep the lights on at the studio. We were having candlelight yoga in the middle of the day, couldn't pay our rent. And I'm laying in bed, kind of just like pouting, struggling. And she's doing what she does, which is like drumming up as much hard work as she can. And both which don't really work. And we get this intuitive nudge in one room. This is 2015, before we had paid accounts that were connected. She gets this message: go listen to Abraham Hicks. In another room, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get out of my funk and listen to some sort of positive thing. And what came up was Abraham Hicks. And in separate rooms with separate accounts, the universe is like, here it is. So we start listening to it. And this is really our first deep dive into why we were creating the life that we were creating, why we were struggling financially, why we couldn't keep the lights on, why, I was struggling with my mental health. And it was all, what we hear so much in the entrepreneurial world is thoughts become things. And also your vibration is dictated by your thoughts, and your vibration is what you attract back out of the world. So we went on a full on putting full on stop to any negativity, any fear, any worry, just full on joy parade experiment for 30 days. We're like, all right, if joy and the feeling of abundance and your feelings attract what you want, we are at such a rock bottom that we must go all in and hog wild on positivity and joy and play and pleasure and love and faith. And we did. And within a couple of weeks, we got offered an event to throw at our studio that made us, at the time, a lot of money for us, which was like $13,000. And in that event, we met all these incredible people that have now become our clients and work for us. And we also got an opportunity to go to Scotland with my Instagram yoga hero and teach at his yoga studio for 6 months. None of this was us reaching out, us trying anything. It was all the universe bringing us people based on our vibe, based on what we were putting out to the world. And so, we shut down the yoga studio, have become, started traveling, doing our first retreats, doing all of that in Scotland, and, just really learning and living that absolutely you create your reality based on your vibration. So we've gone on the journey of sticking to that no matter what, and gone deeper into meditation and studying the metaphysics of why this works, the science of why this works, and how you can replicate it and help people, help people with this. So we come back to California and we're going to set up camp in Sacramento. And about 4 weeks into living in Sacramento, we realized, oh my God, we moved to Sacramento because it was the practical California move. It was
Mm.
the cheap way to be in California. And we realized after 4 straight weeks of rain and not being happy that we had once again settled for something practical based on fear. So we packed up our bags that night and basically moved to San Diego. Faked our bank stubs because we were just launching our coaching business. Faked some pay stubs, got an apartment, got a car, and launched our coaching business within a couple of weeks. And here we are. We have a multi-million-dollar coaching business, and it teaches people really all about miraculous creation, shifting your energy to, so the universe essentially bows down to you.
Man,
And
awesome. What fun.
it is. It's fun.
We I don't know if you know this, but we were almost moved to Asheville at the end of last year.
Really.
We've been working on building community, and we were going to buy a farm and have a bunch of people sort of come and live there. And so we're having another kid, so we basically like put that on the back burner. And we also need to learn how to like manage a farm and like make political decisions in a large group of people. So we still got some stuff to learn. But yeah, it's really interesting. Asheville was like, I never considered it really until last year. And then it was like, oh, Asheville's the place to go. So
Well, there's this crazy thing that happens, and for anybody who's considering a move, when I was living in Chicago, I started to get pretty successful with my hair salon, and my income started to raise, and my peers and the people who are working for me, they obviously, they weren't making as much as I was. And in the social circles that I was in, which is, very queer, very social justicey, there was a lot of animosity towards people who have success, towards people who are doing well. And I started to take it personally, and I started to sabotage my success. So I created this narrative in my head. Well, I don't need a lot of money to be happy. I can live a simple life. I can move to Asheville, North Carolina, and live off the land and build my own house, and just, like things that were actually coming from a guilt mentality and a poverty mentality and I can prove that I don't need to be successful to be happy kind of mentality. So we end up moving to Asheville, North Carolina, which is scarcity capital of the world. It's like a hipster scarcity capital of the world. So I was literally drawn right to exactly where my vibration was. And then, of course, we opened a struggling yoga studio based on all the thoughts we were thinking and all the energy we were carrying. So as we're living in Sacramento, I realized I'm doing this again. Oh my God. Overnight, it was like, nope, I'm going to defy this belief and go and choose to live where I want to live and do what I want to do and be who I want to be, knowing I can have whatever I want. So
hipster scarcity capital of the world. Maybe it's good that we're not going there.
yes. Well, it is what it is. If you're drawn there because you're coming from an abundant mentality of this is a place I want to live, I'm so excited about this, I can have whatever I want, and this is exactly what I want, go for it. You will be attracted to a totally different situation. But the situation we were attracted to was completely based off where we were at. So go fast forward to Sacramento. We're living in Sacramento, and I realized I've done it again. So we pick up in the middle of the night and move to San Diego and essentially create a thriving life based on what we want and knowing that we can have whatever we want. So we're a couple of years into building our coaching business and getting really into creating from within, getting really into the studies of what creates rapid transformation, what creates rapid change, what creates, hockey stick income or instant miraculous cures or, things coming out of nowhere and just coming into your life as a total blessing and a total gift. And so we get into the studies of that, and there's Two things that are pretty across the board, whether you're talking about religion or different metaphysical practices. And one of those things that is across the board is when you release yourself from your identity and reality. Joe Dispenza calls it becoming no one and nothing. The Bible calls it closing the door on reality, or closing the door in prayer, which essentially is like you close the door on your fears, your thoughts, your worries, your day to day. You close the door on the 3D realm. And yeah, what other practices have you heard about, Derek? Because I know you study this too, where one of the basic practices is going into the zero space, the field. Um, there's other ones.
You're making me think of so I apprentice under a shaman, and he talks about like, yeah, getting rid of your identity, and like even like getting rid of possessions, or um this is like one of the hardest things. Like my mom's like, here's all your homework from grade school, like the beautiful art that you made, and I'm
My
like,
mother did that too.
I have to
Yeah.
throw this away. I have to like get rid of it. And she was like hoping that I would just like put it in my basement, I think, and cherish it the way that she has for, 30 years. And I'm like, I have to throw this away. Like, and it was one of the hardest things to do, because I was like, oh, it's so cool to see who I was then. But I was like, if I'm going to be a person with no identity, then I have to like be okay just getting rid of like the most uh, precious physical things.
It's true. And you know, one of my teachers as well says that the best way to change your change your future is to change your past, because we are a set of repeated actions, repeated thoughts. What we did yesterday, we're likely to do tomorrow. So if you are hooked into the past and your identity of the past and who you were, and having all this physical evidence of who you were as the past, you're actually going to be less likely able to change your future.
Actually, there's something you said earlier that I want to sort of re-presence, which is like how in your community, um, people like didn't want you to get too successful, and it's so interesting. Like when other people sort of project an identity onto us, like I find that it's possible to take that on without even realizing it.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah. Community is a huge key in your own transformation. It's a really big piece, is the people that you surround yourself with, and what they project onto you. That can be very hard to break out of, or very empowering.
sure. I want to ask you about that first month where you went all in on just being in the state you wanted to be in all the time. Um, could you talk a little bit more about what that was like, and how you ensured that you didn't slip back into your sort of low abundance state, or your, whatever negativity you had?
Well, I think that we have the blessing of, if you don't do this, you're screwed. Like, you have to make this work. And also, we had the blessing of having evidence of the past, of having had it worked, having evidence of working our butts off and getting no return, then working our butts off on our vibe, working our butts off on our joy, doubling down on faith and belief, and cutting out all energy of negativity, and having that pay off better than any hard work we've ever put into anything. So it was constant dance parties, constant joy, constant play, constant visioning, adventures, bike rides, and having a coach as well support us in our mindset and kicking us out of the nest a little bit and taking action. So I want to fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
We're at the bare bones of faking our bank statements to get an apartment and all of that. But fast forward, we've built the coaching business, and we're about to have are very we just did our first $100,000 launch, and Rosie and I go to Disneyland to celebrate. This is one of the things that we do to stay in our joy practices is we go to Disneyland and we have business meetings. And the reason we have business meetings at Disneyland is because it brings out a sense of creativity. It gets you out of your regular pathways, your regular ruts, your regular way of thinking. It takes you out of the mundane everyday life and puts you into more of a miraculous state of creating and seeing the world. So we go to Disneyland to get creative about our business, to talk about things, to dream up, oh, what's our next lead magnet, or what's our next launch, or what's our next way of attracting clients, or, what do we want to do? What do we want to create? And so we had just had our first $100,000 launch. And when we had our $100,000 launch in 1 month, it was, we were reading this book called The Power of Eight by Lynn McTaggart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Into Lynn.
Well, I have a technique, a business technique that I adapted from the Power of Eight.
Oh, you're going to love this then.
Okay, cool.
So right before our $100,000 launch, it was New Year's Eve. And I decided to do a little fire ceremony on New Year's Eve to call in what we want for the year. And Rosie said she wanted to call in 100 clients for our challenge, for our New Year's challenge. And I actually, even though I'm the person hosting the ceremony, I kind of roll my eyes a little bit as if to say, like, don't waste your wish. We had 13 people in, we were just like kind of still new to, we've never really had any more than like 10 people at a time doing something that we were doing. And so I kind of rolled my eyes to say, like, oh, don't waste your wish. That's pretty freaking grandiose. What are you doing? And she, of course she's like, come on now. It's like the opposite of the energy that we're putting out there. So we do the Lynn McTaggart process for 100 people in the challenge. And within a few days, we had to close down the challenge because we had like over 113, and we had to bring on extra people to support those people in the challenge. It was really awesome. And then we had our first $100,000 month. And so Lynn McTaggart says that the transformational experience is triggered when the mind develops a strong expectation of change. And so what that is she studied these different indigenous ceremonies, different things that create miracles, different things that create rapid change in the human body. And she's actually an investigative journalist who went in to prove that miracles don't work, that it's hogwash, that these intention setting ceremonies are just, like, they're just crap. That's what she was saying. And she goes in and does this investigative journalism and realizes, oh my God, people are having miracles in their life. And there's these small groups of 8, and all you need is a small group of 8 and these different settings to trigger a transformational experience. And so the different things that you trigger it are, the more lights and pageantry and song and dance and the expectation that something miraculous is going to happen, and taking you out of your everyday mundane rut of the thing that you do over and over again, where I wake up, I pick up my phone, I do this, I get my coffee, I do this thing. Whatever happened yesterday is the same thing that happens tomorrow. So taking you out of that everyday reality, taking you out of that everyday process, and getting you into a place where you expect something magic to happen. That is that is part of the key in unlocking a big transformation, or what Rosie and I love to call miracles. So we're driving up to Disneyland after our launch, going to celebrate, going to have fun. And she's reading this book to me. And we look at each other with chills as we're driving into the parking lot. We're playing like a dream is a wish your heart makes. And she reads that sentence to me. And I look at her, she looks at me, and we go, oh my God, Disneyland is the epicenter of miracles. There's lights, there's pageantry, there's music. You're getting out of your everyday mundane reality. And when you go, you set out your clothes the night before. You think about it for weeks and think, oh, it's going to be so much fun. You think about all the different rides, all the food you're going to eat, and it's not your everyday place. It's not something that you do every day. I mean, now we do it every day, but you're going with the expectation that it's going to be fun. So we look at each other and we're like, huh, if you go to Disneyland or you go somewhere with the expectation of magic, and what better place to lose yourself and access the quantum realm than on a roller coaster when you're falling through the sky and you can't think about your dog, your pets, your bills, the bank statement you just faked to get an apartment, how many clients you have. You when you're falling through the sky on Guardians of the Galaxy, or when you're going up and down on a roller coaster, you're not in your conscious habitual thinking mind. You are in a total state of surrender. So we're like, okay, if we go to Disneyland and we set ceremony space for magic to happen, and then we have a clear intention that we cast into the world as we're falling through the sky on a ride, can we access the energy that creates miracles? Can we slip through the veil and access the power of the universe? Because we're not locked into this 3D realm. So we go on a ride and we're like, all right, calling in the directions, calling in Elsa in the north, calling in Simba in the west, having just play with it. And we decide we're going to call in a client. So we go on a ride, the ride drops, and we pick up our phone and boom, we got a new client. Holy crap. Okay, that was fun. Then we decide we're going to do this again, but we're going to do it for someone else. So we decide we're going to get our client a client. We're going to create abundance for others. So go on Space Mountain, call in the energy of getting our clients abundance. And literally we get off the ride and we get a text that our client just got a client. Like, oh, wow, this is something we might have just hacked the universe here. So then we decide we're going to have our first in-person event in a couple of months. And our one of our coaches who works for us, her brother had just been diagnosed with a brain tumor, and she was devastated because she had lost her mom to cancer. It was just her dad, and her brother and her family. And so we decided that we are going to experiment with this energy, Power of Eight style, bring a group of people on a roller coaster, casting a grand, generous miracle for someone else, and see what happens. So we bring 16 people to the Big Dipper in San Diego, and we see him happy, healthy, healed. Happy, healthy, healed. Happy, healthy, healed. And we're just screaming and chanting and jumping up and down and shouting. And it's also just really exciting because we got these people to this event and we're on this roller coaster together. And that was one of the wishes I casted at Disneyland, was to get people together to be on a roller coaster to make a wish for someone else. And then here it is coming together about 6 weeks later. So we go on the roller coaster, happy, healthy, healed, ride drops. We all see it, feel it, smell it, hear it. And then 6 weeks later, we get a message that the brain tumor had calcified and he had a girlfriend. And we're like, oh, okay. We're on to something. We're on to something here. So since then, we've gone on to create miracles where somebody with stage 4 pancreatic cancer went into full remission. We got a 6-year-old boy a heart transplant in 6 weeks, or 6 days. 6 days. A 4-year-old boy a heart transplant in 6 days. I literally just opened my Facebook today and I said, tell me about the miracles that have happened through the volcano. And there was just like lists, like 20 comments. People have woken up out of comas. People who couldn't walk started walking again. And this is all initiated when we do Miracle Coaster, or, now we do it without the coasters because we went into the pandemic. So we're like, how can we elicit that same experience of joy, transformation, fun, and play online? And so we've done that as well. And it's a pretty crazy fun process. And I was like, Derek would love to hear that people are making People are using these concepts. And, for me, meditation, it's hard for me to lose myself in meditation. But
Yeah.
can I lose myself on a roller coaster? Fuck yes, I can.
Okay, so tell me about how you do it online because it does seem more challenging.
So the interesting thing about online is, yeah, I was just actually listening to a Neville Goddard book yesterday, and he said something about your triggers. He said something about your triggers and how where are my clips? Nope. No, let me see my notes. But basically, your triggers will show you where you really are at internally.
Okay,
And
I'll buy it.
And if you don't work through your triggers and your own emotional material, your own subconscious baggage, you will have a block from being able to be a channel and create in your life. So when we create miracles online, we essentially take people through an entire process where I call it a spiritual enema, which is, yeah, a blast of cleaning out your stuck baggage that's been there for years and years and years. So once you have people cleared, how take people through a process of clearing out their baggage, they're all pretty tapped into some supernatural power. And so, and the other thing that I do in the events is I create an emotional anchor throughout the entire event. So I'll take a song, and every time there's a powerful moment, every time there's a huge transformation happening, you play the same song. You build up the energy of joy, excitement, and you anchor them into that using music and lights and songs and dance. And then by the end of the event, when you've cleared out your emotional baggage and you have the emotional anchor of the lights and the music and the sounds and the emotion, you combine the intention with the lights, the music, the sounds, and the emotion, and a clear intent. And all of a sudden, you get, the boy getting his heart in 6 days. That was one that we did online. All of a sudden, you tap into this other reality. And Rosie talks about there's this thing that happens when the miracle happens. It's called a frisson. Do you
How
know
do you
what
spell
that
that?
is? I think it's FRESSON.
Okay.
And we know it's done because your hair stand on its ends and you get goosebumps. And Rosie says her nipples get hard, or you just get this like internal sparkle, like, whoa, what the heck just happened? And anytime we create a miracle with people, that is a feeling that goes through your body and you know it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that feeling. um, okay, so this is super cool, by the way.
It's fun, isn't it?
Do you find okay? So one thing that I know Lynn McTaggart found was the rebound effect. So, and it sounds like you're doing this a lot. Like you use these groups of people like to help the 4-year-old boy. So it's like people aren't doing something for their own benefit necessarily. Do you find that same rebound effect, like that something that they've been wanting to manifest, like they manifest for something else, and then they get the thing that they're wanting as a sort of a byproduct?
Oh, we call it a stowaway,
Okay.
where we say we're going to use the group's collective energy to open the channel for miracles. And we always pick one as a group. So oftentimes people raise their hand and they'll be like, my grandpa, my sister-in-law, and we'll collectively choose one as the group. But then what we say is you've already put your intentions of a miracle in here. So while the channel's open, go ahead and put everything else that you want into the channel.
Hmm.
And often, even though the group is focusing on one outcome, other outcomes will happen for people. And here, oh gosh, Derek, this is my favorite one. Oh, this is my favorite one. So this is the first online miracle that we made. And it was a very first online magma that we had. And there was one woman there, and I've had permission to tell her story. Her name is Laura. And Laura just found out that she was going to be homeless. And through the entire event, she's like, Kit, you need to coach me. I need a miracle. I need this. I need my life to change. And you know that when you're in need, lack, desperation, energy, nothing is going to change. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to coach you. It's not an emergency. And in fact, if I were to coach you and try to help you, it would actually give more energy to the fact that you have a real problem. You don't have a real problem. I know you have kids and you think you're about to be homeless. You think your life's about to, I don't know, whatever. But like, the only thing that's going to shift your life is you shifting out of that desperation energy. And I can't do that for you. So I was just like, nope, 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 not coaching you, not coaching you, not coaching you.
Did you have a hard time saying that?
No,
No.
not at all. Because I know how this works. I've seen it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Is if people are begging and prying and needing something, the only thing that's going to get them out of it is, we call it a cosmic bitch slap. So it's the night of day 3. And oh boy, was she mad at me when I would not coach her. Boy, was she mad, but it comes full circle. So it's the night of day 3, and we do board breaks online as part of the experience. And one of our participants, Jamie, she broke through a board and was celebratory, and then went out on a drive with her boyfriend, and they caught a patch of ice and got into a horrible car accident. And so we wake up in the morning of day 4 and we find out that she's in the hospital. She's lost 75% of her blood and she might not make it. And that he has been thrown 50 feet from the vehicle and he might not make it. And so we decide that this process that was previously an only in-person event where we did miracles on roller coasters, that we are going to find a way to translate it to in-person online. And we are like, can we do it? I don't know. But as soon as we find out that we actually really need a miracle, we're like, yes, we're going to do it. And yes, it's going to work. So we tell the whole, like, we ask everybody what kind of miracles you need. And of course, Laura's like, I need this. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. And then I tell them, well, actually, last night this happened, and I would really like to create a miracle for this person in our community so that she lives and thrives and is happy and healed. And everybody's like, whoa, yeah, that's what we're creating a miracle for. And Laura at the same time was like, wow, I'm okay. I'm actually okay. Like, my shit is not shit right now. I don't need to keep giving energy to this. So we go in, we do the intention, we do the chants, we do the music, we do the lights, everybody gets into it. And Laura says, that was the first time I had fully let go of my problems and focused all of my energy and all of my power to the universe and believed in it for someone else. And I felt a miracle happen. I felt the change. I felt a shift in me. I just let go of my problems. And then so that evening she goes for a walk, ironically in St. Louis, where you are. She goes for a walk and she's light and she's happy and she's joyful and she's peaceful and she's let go. And a neighbor comes up to her and offers her a place to stay for free for a year for her and her family. And that is the kind of magic that I see. Is that a lot of people, when they come to the events and they're like, oh, I need this to change, those are the people that actually get the least change. But the people who are willing to completely surrender to the energy and believe and have faith, and especially in creating a miracle for someone else, those are the people that I call stowaway energy, just have magic happen in their life because they've let go.
And what's coming up for me is like there was like a miracle that was worth putting your creative force towards. It's like, sometimes you're like, I need a miracle. And you're like, you're telling him like, you don't need a miracle. But then once it's clear, like, no, really, we do need to put our intention, attention, energy towards a miracle. Like it's worth creating.
What is so profound and so beautiful and so magical and so important that you let go of your crap so that somebody else can have this beautiful energy coursing towards you and directed towards them? And it's like when you're directing it towards someone else, you have that high energy, high state of expectation, high intention. You let go of your problems. You let go of your own worries. You're focused on something that's way more important than you. And ironically, you open your own channel for yourself.
So I imagine there's actually probably a lot of ways to hack this to like take the attention off of uh almost anything that could put you in a flow state to take your attention off your problems.
1,000%. And so that's really what I think is the important thing to take from this is like if we can go and create miracles by being in joy, by being in play, by being in a magical state, in a miraculous state, why can't we do that on an everyday level? Why can't we wake up deciding that today is going to be the best day of my life? Today I'm going to be guided. Today I'm going to be a source for good. Today I'm going to expect magic and miracles. And why can't that be every day? So if you were waking up and you were going to Disneyland today, what would your energy be? If you were waking up and you were going on a vacation today, you're going to a hot spring today, what would your energy be? If you were waking up and you knew something beautiful and incredible was going to happen today, what would your energy be? How would you do your morning differently? How would you greet your spouse differently? And it's getting into that place every single day, having a discipline with joy that actually taps you into the guidance to go on the walk where the neighbor is going to be, that offers you a house, that, gets you to buy those tickets to the thing that you've said that, oh, I can't do this. I'm too poor, I'm this, I'm that. That gets you out of your everyday thinking and gets you to make choices that bring in the unknown.
So I'm hearing a little bit of a conundrum because you're talking about like every day getting out of your routine, which is like a routine of getting out of a routine. It says like programming novelty or programming like seeing the world fresh every day.
Yeah. And Rosie and I, we go to Disneyland a lot. And I realized that I was actually getting into the mundane at Disneyland. And I was on Pirates of the Caribbean and realizing I was getting a little bored of the ride. And I just said to the universe, I said, help me see this through fresh eyes. Help me see this ride through a new perspective. Help me be new in this experience. And that's a prayer that you can say every single morning. And if you are trying to see your life and allowing yourself to see your life through fresh eyes, the Course of Miracles says that the miracle happens with a shift in perception. So you're seeing your life in the same way every single day, and you're locked into the past, which it locks you into the future. If that's the way that you're going, the only thing that will shift your life is a shift in perspective. It's a shift in the way that you see things. So a prayer and an intention to shift your perspective will innately start to bring miraculous energy into your life. And then the other one, my favorite, of course, Miracle says, the only thing between you and a miracle, the only thing holding you back from a miracle is a grievance. And a grievance also is a locked in state of mind. I'm mad at this person because we're in a divorce, or I'm mad at my mom because of this thing that she did when I was 30 or 10 or 15. I'm mad at my mom because she doesn't know how to love in the way that I need to be loved. I'm mad at my teacher or whatever. It's the same thing. And usually it's a perspective that you've held in life your entire life, and you're casting it, projecting it over different situations and circumstances. So you let go of those grievances and you start to see that everything in your life is a miracle. You start to see it through that lens, through that shift in perspective. All of a sudden, your reality can actually start changing.
Yeah, I I have some friends who it's making me think of like I know clearly their grievances that they've told me like repeatedly, about why they can't do a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
You ever
also
you ever you ever been in a fight with your partner and then you're literally in a standoff and you're thinking, who's gonna drop this first, me or you? who's gonna who's gonna love despite what the other one is saying, me or you? And it's usually, yeah, it's when you decide, all right, I'm gonna drop this, I'm gonna drop this, I'm gonna drop this. Actually, Rosie and I were in a little argument last night where I said that, who's gonna drop this first, me or you? And then I go to, well, I can't drop it. I was about to drop it, but then you did this. And I'm like, well, you weren't really gonna fucking drop it then, were you? And it's that moment that you just decide to drop it and be in love and be willing to hear from a different perspective, see through different eyes, that you're back into magical energy with your partner. And it's the same thing with everyone else in the universe.
it's so funny. Like my wife and I we used to argue more, and then one time she was like, "I just decided to fix you for good," and I was like, "Oh, okay, great, here we go." She's like, "I just fixed you in my mind, and now like everything you do is okay," and I'm like, "Oh, that feels way better." And it's like our arguments went down like 99 fold.
Isn't
Uh,
it crazy?
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of relationships, I feel like the same roller coaster drop moment is similar to like orgasm, and you could harness the same sort of 0 point energy during sex.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what is it, the Think and Grow Rich guy that talks about sexual transmutation?
I don't know.
Yeah, there is. I think there is a chapter in there about sexual
Huh.
transmutation for sure.
Yeah, you
But there
mentioned a
is,
few of these books. I'll have to circle back to.
but there is one trap that I do want to warn people about, is when you get into joy, if you get too hooked into these sexual transmutations, going on roller coasters for miracles, um, meditating for an outcome, when you're doing that, you are actually kind of working against yourself, because you are going into a situation to get something. And when you are going
Mm,
into a situation to get something, you are in lack energy. So the real intention needs to be joy. And the real energy going into this experience needs to be joy, not I'm trying to get something.
hmm.
It's or I'm so blessed to be tapped into this energy that I can create anything. Not I have to go to Disneyland to create a miracle.
Yeah, I can see that. Um, when you guys create you're talking about using lights and chanting and stuff. Uh, could you talk a little bit more about like how, if you're doing it online, like how do you tell everyone like, okay, flick your lights on and off, or what do you do? How do you actually create the physical experience?
Well, honestly, we just have lights that come through and shine on me and Rosie. And it's like a party light here and a party light there. And if you're watching and all of your lights are turned off and you have us on a big screen, all of a sudden the party lights are coming in from your computer screen. It's tricky because you can't really control the environment
Hmm.
of people's homes when they're joining online. All you have is the screen. So yeah, you say lights and music, and we have that, but it's also just casted on a computer screen. And it's really about the energy you put into it
Hmm.
at that point. And I was talking to Rosie about, we've trained a lot of coaches because we have a coach training certification. And we see the people that come out and they are successful versus the people who aren't successful. in terms of creating a coaching business. And the people that are successful, they sell their energy. And I don't just mean they sell it for like dollars, but they are committed to being the energy of their work. And you can sell that through a screen. I
Yeah, it's
don't care.
like with anything. If you're gonna have people over for dinner, like it's like it's gonna be great. Like we're gonna have a great time, like versus like, I'm not a very good cook. Like my house is a mess. Like you probably won't even like it, but do you want to come?
Come on over. It's a potluck. Bring whatever you want. Yeah, 100%. Exactly.
Yeah, and there's something there with like if you can't find the energy with the thing that you're selling, like maybe you shouldn't sell it anyway. Like if you're not that jazzed about it, you know.
Yep. And that's actually really interesting is that we have this challenge that we've done. We've done it, oh God, 16 times maybe. It's called the Get Yourself Together Challenge. And it's our biggest moneymaker, but we recently decided to have our last challenge because I hate the name Get Yourself
Mm,
Together Challenge. And we've been guided to, also when I go to sell it to people, when I go to share it, it's like, I don't want to put my name behind this anymore.
mm.
I want to put my name behind what I could talk about for hours and hours on end, which is creating miracles. And it's kind of scary a little bit because you're like, whoa, this is pretty woo-woo. This is a little bit out there. This is just one facet of our business when we have so much other stuff that is working. But I love this and I can put my energy behind it any day. And, I'm like, would I sell this to my best friend? Would I, do I believe in the marketing? Do I believe in the message? Do I believe that I would want to live this in my life wholeheartedly every day? And the thing that I put my energy behind and love is living a miraculous life. And it's interesting. A lot of the stuff that we teach in the Get Yourself Together Challenge is in alignment with living a miraculous life. But the branding of it is
It was
not.
like for a while you wanted to package it in like a palatable way for the masses or something.
Yes. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what do people need? What do people want? Like what were we taught in our coaching, how coaching was marketing and coaching was marketed. And it was like, oh, we're taught that people need to change and people want to fix something in their life. So they're going to get their shit together. That's what we originally called it until we started doing Facebook ads. And, we thought it was funny and cheeky, but I realized that I don't want to teach people to get their self together. I want to teach people way beyond that. I want to teach people how to thrive. I want to teach people how good life can get. I want to teach people, I want to show them the evidence that there is something bigger beyond us that is helping us in this magical way. And I want people to feel the chills of a synchronicity coming together in their life. I want them to feel the chills of non-physical support, taking care of something beyond them. And I want to teach them how to tap into that energy. And that is so much more intoxicating and exciting than getting yourself together. And fun.
Yeah, it's so funny. This is something I'm like so I love coaching business and uh I also love like all these applied metaphysical things, creating miracles or whatever aspect it is, like finding your customers in Dreamtime or whatever it may be. And that's super fun for me. And it's like I'm struggling with, do I have to stop being calling myself a business coach to be able to like do all this together? So I'm kind of in a position like, what am I going to call this? Or like, what is it that I'm doing anymore? Because I'm not just a business coach.
No,
Uh,
you're not.
yeah, interesting.
And I've
Uh,
I've also found that when you just teach business, if you don't bring in the energy, people don't succeed. If they don't master their energy, if they're not committed to that, they won't succeed.
Yeah, for sure. Hmm. So, what? Yeah, do you have any more miracle stories? Like, what are some of your other favorites?
All right, so I'll tell you the full story of the boy getting the heart transplant. Um, it would be a miracle if we had somebody who could help us track and record all of these miracles. Because one thing, it's like we get story after story after story, and we're just like, yay! And we don't track or record what's happening. Like one of the last miracles we did at Disneyland was to free Brittany Griner. And 6 days later, she was free. That was
Hmm.
fun. I don't know if you know who
Hmm.
Brittany Griner is.
The WNBA, she
Yeah.
took was it like cannabis to Russia and they locked her up.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's funny whenever we do these miracles, I really like to do the ones that I'm like, "Oh, I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know about that." I like to push my expectation of what can happen. So, 6 days after doing that miracle when she was free, I was like, "No way. Oh my God." And then another one that we did
Does
was
she know that you guys freed her, by the way?
I don't know.
We should send this to her. We should be like, hey,
You,
you thought
you
it was political negotiators that got you freed, but it was actually Kit and Rosie.
So that's the other piece that I feel a little bit like ooh about. It's like I don't like to I don't like to fully take credit like that. And I'm like, yes, we participated in maybe we were an energetic piece in this whole wheel, like maybe maybe what we did helped. But there's still this part of me that's like, I don't want to take credit for that, but also can't deny that, we did this and 6 days later she was free.
Right. Yeah, it's like we had the snowstorm and my daughter um she's she's like embracing the fact that she can control the weather a little bit. Like she can like tell you when exactly lightning is going to strike. She'll be like, it's going to be over there now. And it'll be like zap. And so she was like, I'm going to make it snow tonight. And we already were sort of expecting snow to come in, but she was like, I'm going to do it. She's 4. And we're like, yeah, do it. And it did snow. And she's like, okay, great. I did it. And it's like, yes, you did. And um how much was it going to snow anyway, or like how much impact did you have? But it's like it definitely snowed and your intention was for it to snow.
Yeah, it's like our intentions aligning with something that's already on its way, and that momentum adds to it. Are we choosing the miracles that are already done?
Well, I was talking with I don't know if you know Aaron Abke, but we were talking about how Jesus did his miracles, and he said basically like he he just aligned with things that were already happening anyway, and he would just sort of put his verbal command to them, like, okay, get up and walk, you're healed now. And the person would, but it was like God wanted those people to be healed anyway, and he was just sort of like the facilitator.
So he was just tapping into what was already meant to be done.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or are you tapping into a different timeline, reality, and dimension where it is already done?
And just hopping into that.
Yes. All
Yeah.
right. So I was gonna tell. Okay, I'll tell you about which one should I where should I go? Okay, I'll tell you about the my client who had a cyst with teeth and hair. Um
Oh.
and how we healed that through timeline reality and dimensional work. And then I'll tell you another one of the miracles that we created with actually her sister on a ride. So she came to this thing called Miracles. We called it Miracles and Expansion in a Mansion. It was basically a retreat, and then we all went to Disneyland. And I've been working with timeline dimensional reality stuff based on the fact that what you see as your past, you will project into your future. So I've been taking people through these journeys of breath work, getting them into a different brainwave state using breath work, and then going and helping them rewrite a different past using breath work. So I was about to take them through an experience of body work. And we're in a group of people that we all kind of had just met. and we're about to touch each other in intimate ways, non-sexual, but intimate ways. And a lot of people have triggers around touch, even
Hmm.
consensual, non-sexual, intimate, loving touch. People have triggers around that, you know? We have body shame. We've had maybe weird situations happen where we were touched in ways that we didn't feel empowered, and we carry that in our bodies. So I took them through a breathwork experience where I decided to help them change, tap into a timeline and dimension where touch was always healthy and always healing. And so I started with their birth, where they were born into a family where they knew love and touch and safety. And I asked them, what would your life be like? What was it like to be born with unconditional love? And I take them through the toddler years where you were touched by somebody who loved you in such a beautiful way. And this is the past that you know. And this is the experience that you know. And you knew how to receive love and touch. And, basically like help them create the experience and the vibration of that. And then take them through their teen years and their first sexual experiences, and having that be safe and beautiful and maybe funny and exploratory and wonderful, right? And then I take them to their adult years and take them through a really healthy touch experience. And so I basically help them reprogram their past with their consent in the ways that they want. And this woman who is in this experience, Suzanne, I have the permission to share her story. She had came to this retreat, and her doctor had said that she had a cyst with teeth and hair on her ovaries, and she was scheduled for a hysterectomy and a biopsy a couple of days after the retreat. And I take her through this experience, and she wakes up and she looks down at her body and she says, "Oh my God, this is the first time that I've ever looked at my body and not hated myself, that I've actually felt full love for my body."
Whoa.
Right? Like, body hate. Like, how hard is it for people? Like, body dysmorphia and body hate is something that people carry their whole lives. And then a couple of hours later, she said, "I realize I, in the timeline that we released, which we call timeline A, I was a picker. And when we went and reprogrammed my past and hopped into timeline B with those new memories and the new past, I haven't picked myself once in the past few hours. And I feel completely free of this lifelong problem." She
Mm.
had scabs all over her legs and she would pick them. And so I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, this is great." And I also knew that when you shift your vibration towards yourself, it changes your entire vessel. It changes everything. And I knew that there was a miracle that had happened for her. So she goes home, she goes to see her doctor, gets scheduled for this hysterectomy and this biopsy. And the doctor goes and does the scans before the surgery. And he goes, "I don't know what you did, but you're completely healed.
Whoa.
This is gone." So timeline dimensional work. You change your past, you change your perception of the past, you can completely change your future. Now, I could talk about this all day long, but another favorite one was at that retreat too. And
Okay,
she
well,
had
let me ask you something really quick.
yeah.
Um, is there anything that needs to be done to prevent like falling back into timeline A, or is it like a one-time permanent shift, or like are there habitual things like the way our brains are wired that could like make us slide back into timeline A, or is it like how do you ensure that it's a permanent timeline hop?
I don't know. Honestly, there's some people that permanently timeline hop and completely change their lives. There's other people that go and slip back, that are like struggling to stay in timeline A. And I think it's really just a matter of how far did you really let yourself go?
And I think there's something about identity. Like if you still have some if you like still really feel like you need some part of that identity of timeline A, then you'll like try to grab back onto it.
I agree. I haven't studied the difference between why one person changes versus another. I just know that if this has worked for one person, and if I see all this evidence in so many different people, then it works. And
Have you
something
seen
about it.
any Mandela effects, like in the wider world from shifting timelines?
Yeah, I have seen that. I don't know what I think about that. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's so kooky. Like the Berenstein Bears one is the one that like freaks me out the most.
Yeah.
Just because I can't wrap my mind around how it's a totally different. Clearly, like a whole group of the population jumped into a new reality together, right? Because we all, like half of my friends all remember Berenstein, Stein, Bears, and that's not what it is right now in this timeline.
No, it's not what it is in this timeline. So that's one of the things is when Jesus created miracles, he said, "Go forth and tell no one." Right?
Oh, you said don't tell anybody,
Yeah.
huh?
Like there was I don't know where. I'm not like a Bible expert, but I do know that when people were getting miracles performed on them in the early days, he would say, "Go forth and tell no one." Because what happens when your life completely changes and and like Mandela effect. How many times have you heard people try to explain Mandela effect as, "Oh, you just didn't know how to read when you were a kid," or try to explain it away in a logical way?
I mean, I feel like that's people's like they're grasping to try to explain it.
Yeah, yeah. So if you try to grasp to try to explain why this happened, you're actually working your way out of the power of the magic.
Hmm. So we're doing like a whole podcast to explain how this works, but it just
Which is
works.
it just works. And one of the other exciting the fun things about this is, hold on, I lost my thought for a second, is yeah, people will look for explanations. They'll look for explanations to try to rationalize. This is same event. Okay. So my belief is that in this timeline and reality here is that we all have a collective agreement in how time works, how healing works, how we get from point A to point B, how electricity works. Like could you imagine 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, there was a collective agreement that this, what's happening with you and I online on the computer, like people would laugh if you thought this was a
Mm-hmm.
possibility. And that was the collective agreement that this is not something that could happen. And now we have a collective agreement. Yes, we can talk from different places and see each other's faces and talk all over the world. Like it's pretty cool. But we also have a collective agreement in how the body heals, how um how time works, how you get from point A to point B. And so at the retreat, it had just started. And one of our participants comes and she's so excited to see us and she jumps in the pool and she's got all of her clothes on. And then when she gets out of the pool with all of her clothes on, we haven't even started the retreat yet. We're just like meeting, greeting, and having fun. And it doesn't even start for a couple of hours. But we're like, yeah, come early and just have fun with us. So she's got all of her clothes on and she slips and falls on this tile outdoor floor.
Mm.
Don't know why they had tile outdoor floor, but it was slippery. She slips and falls, and her toe was this way, and it was instant blood everywhere. And
Oh.
I was like, I'm not going to look at it because A, I get queasy really easily, but B, I know that if I look at it, I'm locked into a reality that her toe is fucked. So here's what we're going to do. Rosie and somebody else a few other people looked at it. So they confirmed what was going on with the toe. But I said, we're covering up your toe right now. And then I'm going to walk through people through a process where we have a collective agreement that the body can heal and change in an instant. And then I brought in all of my energy workers and I said, you're going to do energy work on her toe while we get into a new collective agreement that toes can heal in an instant, that broken bones can heal like that. That, let's say maybe we have a collective agreement that we could regenerate limbs. Maybe we have a collective agreement that we change the collective agreement that humans could change from male to female without the source of testosterone or whatever, source of hormones. You could grow a penis or you could, impregnate yourself, whatever, collective agreement. That's how we evolve as humans, is
Mm-hmm.
one person sets a new standard and then people slowly raise up to that collective agreement. So I said, cool, we're all in agreement that her toe can heal instantly, right? Yes. So I walked them all through that meditation, getting into that collective agreement. And I said to her, you're not allowed to take this bandage off and you're not allowed to look at your toe until you're at least 85 to 95% sure it is healed. 24 hours go by. She's like, I think I'm there. We take the bandage off. There was no bruising. The toenail had broken, but it had detached in a way that there was no pain and the toe was straight again. And the people who looked at her toe said, as soon as they saw it, one of the women said, we need to take her to the hospital. Like, we need to take her to her, like, this is not, and I just like put my hand over her mouth and I said, that is not a reality that I'm agreeing to right now. You will stop talking right now. And so she saw it. She was like, it was instantly black and blue. It was sideways. The toenail was like hanging off. She was like, you could see her go white when she looked at it. And I was like, not looking. We're creating a miracle right here, right now.
Which is what Christian scientists have been doing. So my ex was a Christian scientist, and she told me the story of the first time she sort of saw this in action, where they were on a horseback ride like through the mountains, and this
Right.
horse fell into a ravine and broke its leg. And when a horse breaks its leg, like usually you have to like shoot it. And they were like, actually, we need to be home by dinner, so let's go ahead and get this horse's leg unbroken. So they
Truth.
all just sat around and they were like, this horse's leg is not broken. And then the horse stood up and carried the rider right. It was like they prayed for an hour and it was like back to normal. And you know, there's like what you're talking about. There's like a gravity to our collective agreement. There's actually these interesting experiments that show greater psychic abilities when you go out into space, because
Wow.
we're not subject to the gravity of the collective consciousness as much.
Whoa.
um, and I have this theory about there are certain things that come into being, like the internet, which is there almost to shift the collective consciousness. So the reason for the internet, I think, was to teach us that information is like always freely available, which kind of ties in with this telepathy course that I'm teaching. It's like
Cool.
you could just pull that information out. This is a Google search, but it's like from directed intention. But I think that was like to train the whole population that like you can know anything at any moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's countless stories that I'm always listening to, these stories, because you're right. We are susceptible to the collective agreement. But one of the things that I teach is your community can help you shift your expectations of the world. So you surround yourself with stories of miracles, with stories of people who are psychic, with it just being a normal thing. Then all of a sudden, the collective agreement shifts for you, and anything is possible.
There's like pockets of a different collective agreement within the larger collective.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's pockets of like people doing amazing in business. There's pockets of people struggling, and they perpetuate each other.
So it's like everybody should be hiring really successful coaches.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Uh, I,
So
I tell people bargain hunting a coach is one of the worst things you could do for yourself.
yeah, just put yourself in that field of people that
Yeah.
manifest miracles. So what's
Yeah. Do you want the coach that's like, oh fuck, this retreat is ruined. Your toe is broken. We're gonna have to get a wheelchair. Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Woe is you. Woe is this situation. Do you want that coach or do you want the coach that's like, you know what?
let's just
I'm
take
here
care
to
of
teach you that you
that?
can create, we can take care of this right now. I'm here to teach you the power of your mind, the power of your spirit, the power of the collective consciousness, and we can shift this right now. Do you want the coach that's like, oh, money, 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 money. I need you as a client, or the coach that's like, yeah, it's 20,000, 30,000, 100,000, and we're only going to focus on your mind. Not going to give you any business tactics because I know the biggest lever that you could ever change, that you could ever turn, is the one inside of you.
Hmm. So what's next for you and Rosie? Like, what are you guys you're rebranding or you're doing something new, or what do you got coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, well, we just created this new membership called the Empowerment Portal, and it was something new that we were just like, let's just create something that's all about empowering a new reality from within. That's all about shifting your subconscious mind and putting your conscious mind towards the reality that you want. So it's a membership, and it's all about the basic practices that you need to engage in to shift your reality. And in the morning, you clear the field, and then you calibrate to the reality that you want. And in the evening, which I'm really excited about, you go and you rewrite your day.
Hmm.
You say, great. Okay, so here's a really fun example. Like whenever Rosie and I have a misunderstanding or a disagreement, or we treat each other in ways that we didn't like, and we move through it by saying, now that you know how that impacted me, now that you have the information that you had, now that you know you could have made a different decision, what decision would you have made? How would you have gone about this? And then we go and we actually role play that our reality that we're standing in right now is the one that we wish we would have chosen. And then we let go of any grievances, because we're like, yeah, wishing I would have chosen that is the same as having chosen that.
Say that again.
Wishing I would have chosen that is the same as me choosing that.
So the like how you would prefer to have acted in a situation, like choosing it after the fact is the same as if it actually happened.
Yep. And so what we do is anytime we get into a fight, anytime we get into an argument, anytime there's a grievance, we work through it, and then we say, well, this is what I wish I would have chosen. This is what I wish you would have chosen. Okay, if this is what we wish we would have chosen, why don't I just give you the grace of saying, because you wish you would have done it, you did do it, and now I'll see you as the person that did do that. Now I lock you into the reality and the being of that person. And now I'm actually dating the person that did choose that. So I'm actually empowering the partner that did choose that, and in the timeline with that partner of the person who chose that. And that's a fun way to release the past.
Yeah. And it's so helpful to have somebody there that can like reinforce that for you. Like
Yeah.
having a collaborator to rewrite your timelines for.
Yeah. So with the empowerment portal, we do a different theme every single month. And the theme that, so you can create a reality, empower a reality from that theme. So one month is vision, next month is February. So we're going to do a self love practice. And, let's say in your evening calibration, your evening rewriting your like timeline A, timeline B work that you're doing. Let's say that you woke up and you looked in the mirror And you just got so down on yourself because you're carrying your idea of 10 extra pounds. So you choose an instance, two instances, three instances where you behaved towards yourself, which was not in alignment with the theme of the month. And then you go and you rewrite them and say, I woke up this morning and I looked at my body and I felt so proud of myself. And then you rewrite that a few times over and over and over again. You rewrite the emotions of it. So now you have this past script, this past evidence of how you behave towards yourself. When you wake up tomorrow, you're 1,000 times more likely to behave that way because that's what you think is your past.
Hmm. Okay, this has got me thinking about an experiment to run. Uh, One thing I'm doing this winter that I haven't, I kind of started last winter, but I'm doing a lot more weightlifting. Like I want to like do some bodybuilding because I've always been an endurance athlete, been really like super skinny
Yeah.
arms. The
Now you
heavier,
want to put on some masks.
now I want to put on some mass. I wonder if I could hack that and
Yes, you
like
can.
get really ripped by timeline hopping.
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. Why not?
Okay, so I how would you approach doing that?
I would write some memories about myself that are in alignment with I put on muscle really quickly.
Which is
Whether
true.
you find some that are true or you make some up.
Okay.
And as you go to bed at night, you empower the timeline where that's true, where you remember like going to the gym and then all of a sudden you're like, dude, that was quick. Wow.
Okay.
Or yeah, so I would do that.
Okay, that should be pretty easy. I actually have a week. I was at this camp called Ninja Camp, which was like a adventure workout CrossFit camp. And by the end of the week, I was like, it looked like, the guys in the movie 300. And I was like, oh, damn, that was quick. So I have a good example to work with already. Okay, that's good.
Okay. But here's the thing, you don't have to work with real examples.
Sure.
You can, and that helps. I'll give you one final bit here. This one will blow your mind. So one of the women at the retreat, she had some traumatic um traumatic sexual experiences as a child with her brother. And she decided that when she did the time and when we were doing the timeline A, timeline B shift, she decided that she didn't want to actually change the experience, but she wanted to change what happened after the experience. She wanted to decide that it wasn't traumatic, that she understood that there was compassion, that there was communication about it, that there were no grievances, and it actually brought them closer together, not in like an incest way, but like, hey, you know, I can have forgiveness for you, you can have forgiveness for me.
Hmm.
This happened and I understand I understand why, and it's okay. And we're still close. Our relationship hasn't shifted. Like, I understand you and why you did this. And so she that's the reality. That's the timeline that she created. It still happened, but it didn't ruin their relationship after it happened.
Hmm.
She implanted a bunch of memories of like them being super close, them talking about it being no big deal, them having a moment of intimacy that was safe, and they realized like, hey, this is something I learned that wasn't okay, and I'm sorry, and the family was still really close, and just all these things happened because the perspective shift and what happened afterwards had changed. And so after the retreat, she goes home for some family holiday. And she said there was a moment where they were hanging out. And it was the first time that he had ever acknowledged it. So in timeline A is the timeline you leave behind. Timeline B is the timeline you hop to. Now in timeline B, he acknowledged it and they spoke about it and he apologized and there was healing.
Hmm.
Then, so that happened. She's like, whoa, I am in a different timeline. Something has completely shifted energetically. But then she also, in the meditation, implanted memories of their family being super connected, having fun, very specific things. And then so she's with the family, and this is present time. She's with the family, and they're looking through photos, and she sees photos of the memories that she thought she had implanted.
Whoa. That's cool.
So when you go and you do the timeline A, timeline B work, are you implanting things that aren't there? And then physical reality bends around everything to line up with that timeline, with that story? Or does everything exist and you're just tapping into the timeline that and the physical, like, 3D form of it existing? Or did it actually happen in the timeline that you're in, but you have no awareness of it because you are locked into this version, this
Mm.
perception? Which one is it?
Yeah, and that's, I don't know if you could figure that out either.
But does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter to what your intent is.
And the only reason I tell the story is to get people to know that it doesn't matter how you're doing it, but if you do it all in, you do it full force, you do it with full belief, things will change.
Amazing. Um, Such good stuff. Yeah.
Right?
Kit, it's been a pleasure having you back on. What a wonderful, inspiring
Absolutely.
conversation.
Right?
I hope people listening are motivated to go and like use some of this stuff.
Me too. Me too. Me too. I hope, yeah, that's my biggest desire, is to have so many stories and so much evidence that this is real that it inspires more and more and more people to live in this energy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Um,
Yeah.
where do you want to point people? Where can they find you?
They can go to thelittlevolcano.com. They could go to volcanoportal.com. That's where the empowerment portal is right now, I think. Um, they could just find me on Facebook, Kit Tin Volcano, and send me a message and say hi.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, great to see you again, Kit. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.